Hey, everybody, welcome to the Westside podcast. So excited that you are either joining us by listening or by watching. And we want to encourage you to get the word out by liking this podcast and sharing it with others. And I think you'll definitely want to do that today after you hear our guest. His name is Darren Whitehead. Darren is the lead pastor at Church of the City in the Nashville area. They are a very, very vibrant church. Darren has also written several books, one called Rumors of God with John Tyson, the other called Holy Roar with Chris Tomlin. And finally, the book that we're focusing on today, it is called The Digital Fast. And so excited to have Darren here, not only because of the digital fast, and he's an awesome guy, but Darren and I worked together at Willow Creek Community Church for a stint, and super excited about that. And Darren was working, believe it or not, in student ministry back then. It was a very large student ministry when my boys were in high school. Matter of fact, we still have, Darren, a picture of you on the sailboat with our boys. It's one of their favorite pictures.
No
it's
kidding.
Still in our house. Absolutely.
I love that.
Isn't that really cool?
Yeah.
So Darren, I'm so excited. Just to give you a little bit of like total transparency, we started this podcast about 20 minutes late because we haven't been together for a while and we have so much to catch up on, but we're going to do that after we have a chance to talk about the digital fast. Darren, let's just say hi to everybody. Tell us a little bit about your family, and then I'll dive into what we're doing in Kansas City and with the digital fast, why we're doing it, and then we'll jump right in.
Thank you, Randy, and I'm delighted to be here. I am originally from Australia, moved to the United States in 1998. I came over here to work in radio, and I applied to get a work visa to work in radio. The INS officer in Melbourne, Australia, misunderstood my file, gave me the wrong kind of visa. They gave me a religious workers visa, a pastor's visa. I had never been a pastor before. I had no plans of becoming a pastor. But if I wanted to stay in America, I had to become a pastor. So that is how the Lord called me into ministry.
I have a little different story.
Yeah, it's very serendipitous. I know. But that is the absolute truth.
I didn't know. Actually, I didn't know that.
Out of fear of deportation, I just keep preaching every single week, you know. So that's how I became a pastor. I married an American girl in 2002.
Yeah, Brandy.
And we have three half American, half Australian little girls, all teenagers, 19, about to turn 17, about to turn 15, 19, 17, 15.
Yeah, your 19 was 2 years old when I left Chicago. So I'm looking forward to meeting up with her a little bit later today, which is really pretty exciting. So I want to take a moment to talk to people about why we're doing the digital fast. And then I just want to jump in right away, like, how did this come about for you? So I got, Darren sent me a copy of the book, as well as an alarm clock that's by my bed here in Kansas City. And immediately, I knew that we wanted to do this here at Westside. And the reason, Darren, is that back in 2022, a national study was done on mental health. And of the 50 states plus Washington, D.C., Kansas City was ranked dead last. Kansas, the state of Kansas, was ranked dead last in terms of access to mental health and mental health issues, which no one ever saw coming, right? Wow. We had done some studies here at our church, the Church Pulse that Barna does, as well as Reveal, which you're familiar with, but particularly the Church Pulse study brought out that there was a wellness issue going on in our congregation. And then the main county that we're in here is Johnson County. We also have two campuses in Wyandotte County, but in the Johnson County, they came out with the number one struggle in Johnson County was mental health issues. And so as a church, we've really been focusing in on mental health with Jesus at the very center of that. And we're trying to figure out what are the main culprits of this. And additional, the research in our congregation is showing that people struggle with connected relationships or community. Yeah. So we're coming up against the loneliness epidemic that the Surgeon General announced in 2023. So when I saw the digital fast, I thought, this is a church-wide campaign. I called you up and said, hey, listen, I want to do this. I want you to come. We can catch up. And I also want to have other churches and organizations do it. So we have Advent Health, Youth Front, and a ton of other churches that have joined us in this event. Some of them couldn't do it right now because it's summertime, so they're going to do it in the fall. But it's becoming a big thing here in Kansas City. I want to thank you for that. Here's the first question I have for you. What first stirred in your heart to write the digital fast? And was there a particular moment that your eyes were open to see the urgency of this issue?
Yeah, well, as your church family heard on Sunday, the real genesis of this moment was really when I was taking each of my daughters out on a one-on-one date. And we do that from time to time, and I let them choose what restaurant we're going to go to. And it's just a chance to slow down, look at each other one in the eye, and just catch up, you know. And this is several years ago, and I was feeling quietly confident about my dad game. And so I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask each of my girls, what is dad doing great that he needs to do more of? And what is dad doing bad that he needs to do less of?
That's scary.
Yeah. And so what dad was doing well, they all said different things. They like it when I take them to school. They like it when I make them laugh. They like it when I slip and fall and hurt myself. Endless enjoyment for them. But when it came to what's dad doing wrong and that he needs to do less of, they all said the same thing, Randy.
Really?
They all said, I wish you didn't spend so much time on your phone.
Wow.
This was not organized. They didn't collaborate on this. I guess if one child had said it, I might have been able to excuse myself and say they don't have the right perspective. All three of them said the same thing, and they didn't hesitate.
Wow. And they weren't together when they said it.
They weren't together.
All different dates.
All different dates.
Okay.
It was like a mirror held up. You want to know what's true? This is what's true. You are exchanging some of the most important, fleeting moments of parenthood with triviality.
Wow.
With doom scrolling.
Wow.
And I just thought, man, this is a problem that I have. And as a shepherd, as a pastor, I'm like, I know that this is a problem that our church has. I'd go along to our student ministry on a Wednesday night and stand at the back of the room. We have a balcony, so I can look over the auditorium. I see 1,000 kids in there, and then these glowing rectangles over the entire auditorium. They're just zoning out on their phones. I just thought, man, we've got to do something about this. We do a season of prayer and fasting to kick off every year. We do 21 days of prayer and fasting.
Okay.
And some people would say, well, I'm thinking about maybe fasting from my phone. And I thought, that's a good thing to do, but it's different than what biblical fasting is. But that's important too. So I decided to, as we were standing up and leading our church into this next season of prayer and fasting, I said, some of you want to fast from your phone, and I want to encourage you, don't do that. But later in the year, we're all going to do that.
Oh, really?
Let's all do this together. And so I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I had the concept at 30,000 feet. I didn't even know what that meant. But then I started to read every book on this. I started to consume as much content as I possibly could about digital detoxing and what are best practices and what does it look like to be able to still engage in the world and yet have a boundary, be able to step back from some of these devices in more of a healthy way. And that began the digital fast.
Wow.
And we ended up leading our entire church through a digital fast. And honestly, Randy, it was a terrifying thing to do because I thought people were going to be like, Whitehead, why don't you just teach the Bible and stay in your lane?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
This is sort of like not within the jurisdiction of a pastor. It turned out to be one of the most powerful things that we have ever done as a church.
Really?
Yeah.
That is amazing. And it's interesting that it started with a problem in your life.
Yes.
You know, so many things that I do are coming out of not vision, but they're coming out of a point of pain or point of problem in my life. And so you had a lot of passion for this, for sure. Let me ask you the next question. You've led your church through this 3 times.
Yes.
How did your church first respond to the challenge? So you've kind of somewhat said it's been the best thing that's ever been done, but and they were a little hesitant. Were they a little hesitant at first?
Very hesitant. And I was hesitant too. At that point, I'd never heard of a church doing this.
Yeah, I had never.
And so, I don't know, I'm making it up. And I'm not exactly sure what this should look like. We learned a lot year one. So now, as you said, our church has now done it 3 times. The first time we did it, people were a little hesitant. They weren't sure. I got a lot of pushback from teenagers not wanting to do it, eye rolling the whole thing. As we got started, it was extraordinary. The most compelling part of doing this, I didn't anticipate.
Okay.
And that is doing it together.
Yes.
You see, digital consumption and people being addicted to their phones, technology, this kind of stuff, this is what social scientists call a collective action problem.
Okay.
A collective action problem is when everyone is doing something, everyone knows it's harmful, but no individual wants to step back from it. Ask a teenage girl who's 16, if Instagram makes you sad, then why don't you delete it? And she'll say, I can't. All my friends are on it.
Yeah.
So everyone knows this is detrimental to our mental health, but no one wants to be left out. This is a collective action problem.
Yeah.
So how do you address a collective action problem, but with collective community-wide action?
Yes.
So what happens is when an entire church does this together, you have young and old, you have parents and grandparents and teenagers all doing the same thing. And then you have an entire youth group or an entire small group or the entire volleyball team, and they're all doing it together.
Yeah.
And so instead of FOMO, instead of the fear of missing out, we're almost gamifying the entire experience.
Yeah.
And then this is especially true with teenagers. Teenagers become these technology Pharisees where they're calling one another out. If they see someone who's on Snapchat during a digital fast, they're like, what are you doing? We're on a digital fast. So they start policing one another.
Yeah.
By the time year 2 rolled around, Randy, I had teenagers saying to me, we're excited to do this again.
No kidding.
We're ready to do this. And they say we need it. What's interesting is that if you ask most people, have you ever done a digital detox? They'll almost all say the same thing. No, but I need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what people are looking for is leadership.
Yeah.
And what people are looking for is a guide. Someone guide me what to do and when to do it. And then what I would say to our church when we were doing it is, you need to do something. If not now, then when? Because now is when we're all doing it together.
Yeah.
Join us. Let's take collective action so that we can be addressing a collective action problem.
Yeah, there was a statistic on breaking a bad habit, quitting smoking. If you try to do it on your own, your statistical chances are 0. If you add a tool like a nicotine patch, your chances inch up to about 5% statistically. But if with that tool you'll add community, your chances skyrocket to 40%. That's really kind of what you're saying here.
That's right.
The power of the collective. I discovered that when I wrote a collective Bible engagement series called The Story.
I remember that.
So when it first came out, the publisher had huge hopes for it, and then after like 6 years, it sold like 5,000 copies, which in publishing is bare minimum. But when we wrapped community around it, it's now over 12 million.
Wow.
And I'm seeing the same thing happen with the digital fast. And what's really surprising to me, Darren, is that it's not just teenagers. I've got some of my best friends are in their 80s. And when we announced that we're going to be doing this, there was this look of terror, but a look of, I need this.
That's right.
Because they're doing just endless. I mean, a lot of people that are even retired or just don't have enough to do, that dopamine hit or whatever it is that's going on.
It is.
And there's that term brain rot. You probably have run across that with options.
Yes.
Although, hey, this is really, I think, really important here. Why do you think this is important? And you refer to John 10:10, and then you give us 7 things that are, I don't know if you have them. I can tip you if you don't remember what they are.
Yeah. So on Sunday, I talked about 7 things that I feel like, John 10:10, thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus said, I have come that they may have life abundantly, life to the full. So the enemy tips his hand and reveals his playbook a little bit here. Steal, kill, and destroy. I think I could make a case that there has never been a tool or a piece of technology that has better been able to steal, kill, and destroy than the smartphone.
Yeah.
The iPhone came out in 2007, in June of 2007. I stopped by the Apple store on the day that it came out. I didn't camp out the night before. I'm not that guy, but I stopped.
But you're pretty close to that guy.
I was close to that guy. And to my amazement, they had one in stock. I mean, I thought they were all gone. They had one in stock, and I looked at my wife and I just said, please, And she rolled her eyes and half nodded. And I grabbed that thing like it was my precious. And we have been inseparable ever since.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And what's interesting is that the iPhone, when it was invented, when it first came out, it didn't have a front-facing camera. It didn't have social media. It didn't have notifications. So many of the most insidious and addictive parts of that technology weren't even existing at the beginning.
Yeah.
And what has happened is these smartphones have seeped their way into our lives almost unnoticeably. And, your phone updates itself to the new OS while you sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you've got a whole new set of toys. We almost don't even choose whether we bring these toys into our lives. They're just sort of thrust upon us now.
Wow.
And the unintended consequences of the adoption of this technology has been very, very significant. So there are 7 things that I have sort of identified in terms of category. The first is our time and attention.
Yeah.
Adults in America spend between 5 and 6 hours a day on screens, and teenagers are 7 to 9 hours a day. That sounds almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you only need to, go to a mall and have a look at kids, or go to a sporting event, or get around teenagers, and you'll see. And it's easy for us adults, and particularly parents, to be critical of teenagers, but parents are almost as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, these are highly, highly addictive. So our time and attention is being stolen. Secondly, our kids' innocence is being stolen.
Yeah.
93% of boys and 62% of girls are exposed to online pornography during their adolescent years. The third thing is our mental health and our peace. And I mean, if you look for correlation between the mental health crisis and the introduction of this technology, they correlate just line for line.
Yeah.
I mean, it is extraordinary.
Yeah, which is why we're the thing that's really stood out for us in the state of Kansas and Johnson County and our church, the mental health thing. And I believe that this is one of the top, 3 culprits.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The fourth thing that's been stolen from us is our relationships. Marriages are being impacted by this. Teenagers' social intelligence, their ability to develop interactive skills and intelligence. There's still the majority of schools allow smartphones in the schools today. You go to a lunchtime, and instead of kids interacting with one another and learning what annoys people and what doesn't, learning just your basic skills for conflict resolution and social intelligence, instead you find a sea of kids with their heads buried in their phones, or they're showing one another pictures on social media.
Yeah.
The fifth thing is our sleep and our rest. Sleep is the worst state it's ever been, and people have this constant sense of lack of rest. They're exhausted. How many people do you know that the last thing that they look at before they roll over to go to sleep and the first thing they reach for in the morning is their smartphone?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, Randy, the first thing when they roll over and their eyes are barely open, they open their phone and they look and they see, I've got 6 emails, because they got a little notification there. And it's just almost too irresistible.
Yeah, the You Got Mail movie. Remember that
exactly,
one?
Exactly.
It's on steroids now.
It's irresistible.
Yeah.
So you've barely opened your eyes. Maybe you've got one eye open, and now you're in your inbox, and your day has begun like a freight train.
Yeah. And you're in reaction mode.
You're in reaction mode.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is not a great way to live. This is impacting our rest. It's impacting our sleep. The sixth thing is our identity. 68% of Gen Z has said social media has made them feel worse about their self-image. And then the seventh thing, and this is very subtle, but our spiritual sensitivity has been stolen from us. So what has happened is smartphones have stolen the discretionary moments of our day. When you pull up at the lights and you've got 17 seconds or you've got 3 minutes to wait at the lights, what we involuntarily do is we grab our phones. Now, some of it is doom scrolling. You just kind of like, oh, you know, what's happening on Instagram? And you're just like looking at, you know, cat videos. But some of it is also an addiction to productivity. And so you're stopping at the lights and you see you got email. And so you jump into your email. And so you are constantly on. You are constantly being productive. You are trying to be efficient.
That's the positive side is, I'm just a productive dude.
Exactly. You just kind of like, you know, but what happens is that your life and your mind is so cluttered. You no longer have the moment, the gaps in life where we're saying, Holy Spirit, what am I supposed to be noticing right now? What do you want to draw my attention to right now, right here?
Yeah.
You know, the description so often in the scripture, the voice of the Spirit is this still, small voice.
Yeah.
And we have our minds cluttered with visual junk food.
Yeah.
And that has come at the expense of hearing the voice of God.
Yeah. And the psalm, be still and know I am God. So you can hear the voice, right? And yet I've heard this in another space. I can't remember where, but it's the whole idea of like, but Darren, what if I turn all of this off and I don't do this, and there turns out to be nothing between me and God? What if there turns out to be holy terror that I've got this space? So there's an element of productivity, but I think there's also an element I'm almost afraid to go into complete stillness because I've been so riveted by doing this. What happens if I slow down and I don't know what to do with that stillness, right? Is that a possibility?
I think that's true, yeah. You know, the concept of digital fast, like a biblical fast, which is fasting from food, is not just about disengagement. It is about engaging in something. It's not just putting something down, it's picking something up.
Yeah.
So the digital fast is a call to laying down certain aspects of digital technology and picking up the word of God. There's a series of spiritual practices that you would take that allocation of time, which is shockingly high, you know, 5 to 6 hours, 7 to 9 hours. And how many of us have got distracted looking at, you know, doom scrolling, and you're just looking at stuff and then you realize that 47 minutes has gone by and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
You ever sat behind someone on a plane and you can see between the two seats and you can see what they're scrolling and you just judge them in your heart? Like, look at what you're doing with your life, bro. But we've all been guilty of it.
Yeah.
So what would it look like to take that amount of time and dedicate it towards a guided spiritual practice where you're inviting God's Spirit to speak to you?
And I suppose in some ways you could use your phone in that way, you know, to do something a little bit more productive. And I think that you would agree with that. But at the same time, you know, what I find is, you know, when I'm checking Instagram and I click on one reel, I realize, you just got into the real world. And now you got, well, that's interesting. And then you got a whole community of people that are sending, it takes me 2 hours just to watch all the reels that people send me. Like, I want you to watch this. I want you to watch that. It's maddening. It really is.
Yeah. You know, the technology that is used for scrolling on phones is the same technology that is used for the pokey machines in casinos. It's called variable ratio schedule. And what it means is it's not that the algorithm is predictable, it's unpredictable, which is what makes it addictive. So for the very same reason that you would be pulling the lever on a slot machine and you're like, the next one could be it. I don't want to leave when the next one could be it. That is actually the same spirit in the refresh, the scrolling.
Yeah.
Because you're going, this is interesting content. And what's the next one going to be?
Yeah.
And what is even more insidious, and most of the listeners would know this, is that the technology and the algorithms are so sophisticated now that your feed is custom designed towards what is exploiting your weaknesses. Like, what are the things that you find the most enticing? So it is basically watching the things that you click on, watching the things that you linger on, watching the things that are interesting to you, and then just throwing you unlimited amounts of that. And everyone's different. So it is designed to exploit the things that you find the most engaging, and it will bury you in it's like a fish hook with the bait that you find the most delicious.
Yeah. It's crazy. I grew up in the 60s as a little kid, and we had to wait a whole 7 days for the next episode of Hogan's Hero to come out. And we had to wait an entire year to see Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And there was no taping or anything. You had to watch it when it happened. And there was such a beauty to that. And you'd think this would be so much better. But I don't think we've yet discovered the tremendous impact on our minds, our spirits, and our communities yet. I mean, I think we're beginning to understand it, but I don't think we're there yet. Okay, the next question. You shared that the average Christian spends fewer than 10 minutes in prayer, but over 5 to 6 hours daily on their phone, more for teenagers. How about practicing the digital fast? How's practicing the digital fast impacted your people's spiritual, devotional, and prayer life?
So as we were talking about earlier, there is a sense of mixture of trepidation and anticipation when it comes to doing something like this. People think, I know I need this, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to react when I do this. And when you start to develop some boundaries, or you start to put in some restraint, you start to develop what it feels like to have a healthier relationship with this technology. And it actually feels really great.
Yeah.
So what we have found is, and we've been practicing this annually for the last 3 years, is that people are excited to do a reset and to come around and go, all right, here's what I need to do. I need to engage in this digital fast, and I just need to reboot my nervous system throughout these 28 days. The digital fast is essentially thinking about the apps on your phone through the lens of, is this app a distraction or a utility?
Right.
So not all apps are the same.
Yeah.
You know, Snapchat is not the same as the Southwest app when you're getting on the plane. You know, when you get on the Southwest, when you use the Southwest app to get on the plane, you don't then get on the plane and play with it for the next 46 minutes.
It served you.
It's a utility.
Yeah.
Right?
You didn't have to go to the desk and get a printout version. If there's a change, it's telling you that there's a change.
And that is not having a detrimental impact on our mental health, right? Distraction apps are the things that you need to get out and off of your phone. You need to turn it into a utility device for 28 days, right?
I love that.
To try to say, you need to take your smartphone and smash it with a hammer, it's just not reality. I mean, there's a lot of places you can't even park your car without using your phone, or you can't get into the building, or you can't open your garage door or do banking, or all of these things, which are utilities, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So it is, what are the things that are the most distracting apps for you? Things like social media, news apps, things like shopping apps, video apps like YouTube, even email. If it's possible for you to do your job without having email on your phone, and before you answer too quick and say it's impossible, I challenge you to think, is it possible for me for 4 weeks to not have email on my phone? By the way, email was the thing that created the most anxiety for me personally in doing this. I have 130 paid staff, and I am a decision maker on a lot of things. I don't want to be the bottleneck on things, right?
Yeah.
And so I was most nervous that now I don't have email on my phone, that there are just going to be all of these people sitting around waiting for me to make a decision on something. And I was worried that by the time I check my email, if I check it, twice a day on my laptop, I'm going to have 10,000 emails waiting for me, you know, because usually I'm cleaning them up in real time, And it just wasn't true, Randy.
Yeah, yeah.
And what happened is when I checked my email at the start of the day and the end of the day, so much of email is spam, or it is, a newsletter or something, or it is things that you don't need to take action on, but you just need to be aware of. So you're actually able to group your email and handle it all at one time. All the stuff you need to delete, You just click all the things at the same time, delete it all at the same time. The things that you need to take action on, you're able to do quickly. It's actually a lot more efficient.
Yeah, there's studies that show that.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. I mean, that's my pattern is I check things after about 10 o'clock in the morning before I dive into my serious sort of work for the day. And then I don't check it again until later in the afternoon. And there's studies out that is super duper productive.
Much more efficient.
Yeah, much more efficient. Like when you're writing a book or preparing a sermon. So I don't know what other people's work is, but if you get into writing and then you distract by looking at your email on your phone or even on your computer for that matter, it'll take you 20 minutes to get back to where you were at. So it's highly inefficient.
Yeah, I found one study found 27 minutes it takes for you to get back to the same level of concentration as where you were.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are distracted people now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was certainly one of the things that was most anxious for me. But the digital fast is getting those distraction apps off of your phone, reducing it to a utility device, and then you can use it as a utility device for the 28
because
days.
There's a lot of good things about the phone, the utility part of it. And I think a lot of people who may be resistant and go like, I'm not going to do this, are thinking that we're going, to eliminate the productivity and the utility of it, but we're really trying to really help you get your life back.
Well, and we have people in our church who are YouTube content creators. That's how they make their living. And they're like, how on earth am I going to do this? This is my whole life, And I'm like, then do the version that's going to work for you. I would first encourage you to get it off your phone, right? I'm not even saying social media is the enemy. Yeah. What I am saying is that social media on your phone causes you the frequency in which you engage that content. It's like an appendage to your body.
Yeah.
So don't check Instagram 36 times a day.
Yeah.
Check it once a day on your laptop. It's a far more healthy way to engage in these mediums.
I can imagine some people right now just going, "You've lost your mind, Darren." But you're trying to lead us to a place where it's proven that it's going to be beneficial to you. And I think some people are like, "I got to do this. I'm a little addicted. I got to do this," because this is a genuine addiction, right? I mean,
it is a genuine addiction. Yeah, and. The other thing with people who do this for a living, maybe you're social media is part of how you generate your living. The other thing that you can do is don't do it out of hours then. So do your social media during your workday.
Yeah, during your workday.
And then have a boundary. Yep. And then don't keep engaging with it. There's a big difference when it comes to social media. There's a big difference between creating content and consuming content.
Yes.
And so we've got a lot of content creators. Yeah. It's largely not destructive.
Yeah.
And if that's how they're making a living, I respect that.
Yeah.
But then you've got consuming content is where people are burning hours and hours and hours of their day away on just mindlessness.
Yeah, that's really crazy. My granddaughter is a TikTok influencer. That's how she makes her money. She's 16. And her mom, who's my daughter, they're doing a really decent job. I wouldn't say fantastic, but decent job of creating it as a job. And Ava, it just is not overly fascinated with it, but she can make the most amount of money doing it. She kind of hit the jackpot. And so they're monitoring all that. And so we're chatting about the digital fast right now.
It's crazy. We had a family move to Tennessee from Texas, and they started reviewing toys in their channel. And their channel blew up to millions, hundreds of millions of views on the things that they're doing now. And they have used their platform to highlight church, adoption, foster care, like all of these extraordinarily redemptive things. Randy, to an audience of millions of people.
I know.
And I'm not condemning that. I'm applauding that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kingdom work on the internet.
Yeah. My granddaughter's doing the same thing with her fascination with physical Bible, as opposed to the digital Bible. That trend is happening. And so she's picked her Bible and she does a lot of, and she's got not hundreds of millions, but she's got a lot for a 16-year-old girl. And she's using the platform in a good way and seeing it as a job. as opposed to in a fascination. So that's really helpful for people to get the boundary. Okay, so let's answer the question: what is a digital fast? I know we've probably chatted on some of this already.
So I've explained a little bit about the differences between distraction apps and utility apps. The goal is to reduce your phone down to a utility device by deleting for 28 days the distraction apps. But the digital fast there's 4 movements. It's a guide for the 28 days. The first 7 days is to detach.
Yeah.
We want to invite you to experience what it's like to detach from distraction apps, even to detach from your device as much as you can. 94% of Americans have their phones with them all the time.
All the time. And start to sweat if it's not there.
Yeah, that's right. It's by their bed. If they're walking around the house, it's in their back pocket. It's in their hands. It's everywhere they go. You're attached to this device. So the first 7 days is a call to consciously start to detach yourself from it. And again, doing it in community is really, really powerful, because if you're having a hard time with it, then you're like groaning with friends about, I'm embarrassed about how hard this is. There is social scientists have now, are sort of diagnosing this syndrome of detachment from social media, because people actually experience physical symptoms and all kinds of stuff, because it really is this level of addiction. And the dopamine, which is what you were alluding to as well, our dopamine receptors are being overloaded because they're getting hit all the time.
Yeah. Which becomes a negative
thing. It does. Yeah. And I'll talk about that in a second. So the first 7 days is to detach. The second 7 days is to discover. And I just invite people to notice what you haven't been noticing before. Notice what is happening in your body. Notice what is the voice of God saying to you. Like, what are the things that you've been missing? What are you discovering now that you are not having your head buried in your phone? What do you discover about the people around you? How many times has your teenage son or daughter walked through the room, perhaps distressed, and you didn't even notice?
Yeah.
Because you were looking at something else. You were somewhere else in your mind. So first 7 days is to detach. The second 7 days is to discover. The third 7 days, really interesting. You move into a 7-day period of delight. Now, I got to speak to Jonathan Haidt a few months ago. He is what most would say the leading voice in the world on this right now. He wrote a book called The Anxious Generation.
Yes, sure.
And best-selling book, and he has really led the charge. He's been ringing the bell on this maybe as much as anyone has. And I got to talk to him about it, and I was explaining what the digital fast was, and he interrupted me. He was so excited. And he goes, Darren, can I tell you why it's delightful? He said, it's all about brain science. He said, what happens is that our dopamine receptors are being overloaded because of all of the social media and the texting and the notifications and all of that, right? And what happens is dopamine stops doing in the brain what it's supposed to be usually doing, and that is it brings us pleasure, or it brings us joy, or it even brings us peace. And dopamine stops working because it's flooded in the brain. The brain can't even cope with it anymore.
Yeah.
And it takes 2-ish to 3 weeks for everything to reset in your brain. So when you stop overloading your brain with dopamine, a couple of weeks into this, your brain resets and dopamine starts doing what it's supposed to do again.
A gift from God.
A gift from God. Right. So then the other parts of dopamine being released, someone making you laugh, eating chocolate, sex, whatever you call it, right? Like all of a sudden, it's like you have reset your nervous system in your body. It is like resetting the human experience. And I can remember this as clear as day. The first time I did digital fast, my youngest daughter was maybe 13. And she said to me, Dad, come watch me on the trampoline. I didn't have my phone with me. It was in a drawer somewhere in the house. And usually I'd carry it around with me everywhere. I walked outside and I consciously noticed, Randy, the texture of the grass on my feet.
Really?
And I walked out and I could smell the air. And then I looked up at the sky and it was almost time for sunset and there was this light breeze and my daughter was bouncing on the trampoline and I could hear the springs and I could hear her giggle as she was flipping and springing. And I had this conscious thought, this is a better life.
Wow.
I didn't have my phone anywhere near me. And I rediscovered the human experience and the joy of watching my daughter bouncing on the trampoline. Yeah. It is delightful when you really do this.
That's the delight. Yeah, that's the thing you're going to get as a result of this.
That's right. That's right. Food tastes better when you do this. When you are meeting with someone and you're grabbing coffee together, it's like your ability to hear their voice, your ability to connect, your ability to keep eye contact, or you might even have this thought, man, I love this person. Man, I'm so glad they're in my life. Like gratitude swells up inside of you. It's what happens when we stop numbing our way through life. All of the things that God intended for us to be where we actually are, to be in the presence of someone who is made in the image of God, to be able to connect with them in a deep and profound way, to laugh together, to connect on sympathy or empathy or difficult times. It is the richness of the human experience. And so many of us have lost it and we don't even realize we've lost it.
Wow.
The fourth movement is to determine, what do I want my digital life to look like on the other side of this? Yeah. And as I mentioned on Sunday, I'm encouraging people to Marie Kondo their digital life. Marie Kondo is famous for helping people clean out their closets and simplify their life. And she has this question. When you're cleaning out your closet, you hold up an item of clothing and ask yourself the question, does this spark joy? And if the answer is no, then you throw it out. And if it's yes, you keep it. So I want people to Marie Kondo their digital life. After 28 days, ask yourself the question, does TikTok on my phone spark joy?
Yeah.
Does Instagram spark joy? Does Facebook or X or Snapchat, any of these, does it actually spark joy to visit these places throughout the day, or doesn't it? We had one study found, internal study found, 50% of people who did the digital fast did not put social media back on their phone.
50%?
50%.
That's crazy.
Because they were like, this has been so much better. Now, it's not that they never go onto social media.
Yeah, maybe on their computer.
They go on their computer, or they have. So I know some people who have a iPad, and their iPad is their social media access point.
Yeah,
they don't have it in their pocket all the time.
Yeah,
but they have it at their house. I want to check out social media, and it's all on my iPad, and I'm just going to fool around on it for a little bit.
So it's not bad. It's just
not bad.
It's putting guardrails,
it's
boundaries.
Guardrails. It's having a healthy relationship. The problem is these things are so addictive.
Yeah.
It is just like when you eat too much junk food.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you kind of feel sick and you feel a little bit ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're just a little bit like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
You know? What happens is we grab these things to try to soothe us. And what happens is they end up shaming us.
Yeah, that is so true. Let me repeat them. First 10 days,
first 7 days,
detach. Next 7 days, discover. Third 7 days, delight. And then last 7 days, determine. Yeah, and that's the journey that we are beginning, church. We began it yesterday. The gun went off, and I've been actually a week ahead. Speed of the leader, speed of the team, we always say around here.
Nice.
And so Roseanne and I have been on it for a week to kind of get a feel for it using the app, you know?
Yeah.
And it has been... has to be done in community.
Yes.
You know, it has to be done in community. And maybe I'll share my story for the end here. Okay, next question is, what practical advice would you offer to parents struggling to set digital boundaries without isolating their kids socially?
So this is really difficult. And if you're a parent of teenagers, this is one of the most challenging aspects of this. And My children, I'm like the poster child for this because the age of my children, 19, 17, 15, they're all turning this year. So if I had my time over again, Randy, I'd do it very differently. Yeah. The average age in America that a kid gets a smartphone is 11. And I kind of did that too. Like when my oldest daughter was old enough for a sleepover or playing school sports, I wanted her to be able to be reached, and so I grabbed an old iPhone from the junk drawer in the kitchen and I fired it up and I gave it to her, Now, Jonathan Haidt has some really good advice, some really practical advice on this in these 4 norms, particularly with parenting. And he would say this. The first thing is, do not give your child a smartphone before high school.
Yeah.
So that is before 14.
Yeah.
Right? Do not give your child a smartphone. Make the first phone that you give them a dumb phone or a flip phone or something that you cannot access the whole best and worst of humanity in the cesspool of the internet.
You got a text, you got a phone.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And interestingly, a kid's still going to be excited about having something rather than nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The second thing he would say is no smartphones before 16. Sorry. No social media before 16.
Yeah.
So hold back social media. The studies have now found, and there was no research on this beforehand. And so many of us parents, we just didn't know.
Yeah.
The most susceptible, most impacted, negatively impacted age group in all of this is girls going through puberty who have social media. That is the danger group. Now, the reason is because there are 2 times within the human experience where the brain completely rewires itself. The first is in utero, when you're a baby, when you're in the womb. And the second time is in puberty. In puberty, your entire brain completely rewires itself. And while that is happening, if particularly, it's teenage boys and girls, but particularly these early teens and preteen girls, if they are comparing themselves to the AI version of a overly sexualized young woman, it is highly, highly destructive.
Yeah.
Now, you might hear this and think, gosh, my 13-year-old daughter is on Instagram. What should I do? And a lot of them say, they use this metaphor. They say, well, the ship has sailed. Right. And this is what I would say to that. If you knew that a ship was leaving the port and that ship was damaged and it was going to sink, would you do something about it?
Right.
Would you try to turn it around?
Do something.
You'd do something, right?
Yeah, right.
So what I have talked to my children about and what I encourage other parents to say is, hey, I have been studying this. As a parent, I've been studying this and I have learned that some of the most destructive, problematic ways that teenagers are navigating the world with these devices, this can be highly destructive for them. What would you do if you were the parent and if you knew that something that they were doing could really hurt them, could really raise their propensity towards depression or suicidal thoughts or cutting or whatever it may be, low self-esteem? Would you want to do something about that? My encouragement to parents and to teenagers would be, let's all do a digital fast together.
Yeah.
Let's take 28 days and we all get off this, and then let's revisit it at the end and have another conversation about this.
Yeah, this is so much better than the parent who might be violating at the same time, which is hypocrisy, harassing their kids at a point where it was most inconvenient for them that their kid was on the phone. The kid rolls back their eyes and goes, I don't get this. But if you all did it together and just said, we're going to do it for 28 days and evaluate together, that seems to be a much better environment by which to have this conversation.
And for parents to be honest and be like, honestly, I find this hard.
Yeah.
So we're all going to do this together. It's all going to be hard together. And, we're going to do some extra things as a family over these next 28 days to be filling in the time and the gaps or whatever.
Yeah. So for those of you watching or listening, if your kids are really young, do this. But even if your kids are at the ages that Darren's kids are or my grandkids are, don't do nothing saying, we missed that boat. Be looking for ways to make a change. And the number one way is to engage in this digital fast together and learn together, and then come on the other end determined as to what you're going to do in a collaborative sort of way after the experience.
And what I'm really hopeful for, honestly, is that those parents who are coming behind, those who have like 10-year-old kids and 9-year-old kids or 11-year-old kids right now, they're not going to do the same mistakes that I did. Yeah. Because they're kind of seeing that there is now conclusive research, that there is not just a correlation between the use of these devices and mental health, but there's a causation.
Yeah.
And so parents who want to be good parents are going, I'm going to hold this world back from my kids. There is much more developed thinking and a body of research that proves that we can handle this better. So the 4 things that Jonathan Haidt says is no smartphones before 14, no social media before 16. The third thing is phone-free schools.
Yeah.
He's on a movement right now to try to launch phone-free schools across the country, and it's getting traction. I hit up a couple of schools in our local community, and they have gone phone-free this last academic year. And it wasn't one reason or 2 reasons or 3 reasons it was a good idea. It was like 20 reasons it's a good idea. And they have not looked back. It's been fantastic. I think 5 years from now, no schools have smartphones where you can just be grabbing them and use them all the time. The 4th thing is there needs to be more unsupervised outdoor play for kids.
Yeah.
Let kids go outside. Let them interact with one another. And if they have conflict, let them solve the conflict on their own. Let them develop those skills.
Yeah, I wrote a book called Making Room for Life years ago. It came out under Real Simplicity with Roseanne's voice. And even before the cell phones, we had parents getting their kids overly involved in sports and all of that. And I just could not get families to unwind from all of the sports activities. Now they're at the sports activities and they're on their phones as they're sitting in the dugout, and the parents are on the phone, likely missing the game itself. So it's just gotten worse. And the value of like conflict resolution, intergenerational play, the ability for kids to interact with adults, having dinners together as a family without phones. So I've been at this for a long, long time, and the digital devices has only made it worse. Right. So hopefully this is a wake-up call. Hey, I want to do one more question. Skip down to the last question, if that's okay. And in your mind, what is at stake if the church doesn't confront the spiritual consequences of the digital saturation in this generation?
Do you know, there was one observation that struck me recently about this whole phenomenon, and someone made the observation that if something drastic doesn't change, this next generation will die with more of other people's memories than their own memories.
Oh my gosh.
There's this living their lives in a virtual world at the expense of the physical world.
Oh my gosh.
And I think what is at stake is the next generation, the future of the church, not being able to hear the voice of God, not having a devotion to the scripture and understanding God's word, because they're squandering their lives on triviality.
Yeah.
We could have a very, very shallow church. Now, I will tell you that one of the things that is making me hopeful is that I am seeing just like your granddaughter is got this resurgence of the analog.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted the digital fast to be a book, not just an app or something.
And the workbook, Mm-hmm.
I want people to be in pages, and I want them to have an analog experience. I want them to rediscover what it's like to be holding something. And there is a movement of that. There's actually even a movement of the next generation, Gen Z, who are getting rid of their smartphones and they're going to flip phones.
Gone. Oh, yeah. I think I've heard this.
Yeah, and so they're going sort of much more low tech because they're kind of going, I'm auditing my life, and this is net negative for me.
Yeah,
and I think that there's got to be a better way to live. So the next generation, that are sort of the technology natives, as we often think of them, many of them are starting to wake up and say there's got to be a better way to live. So it is not all doom and gloom, but if we continue on this trajectory of just more and more and more times staring at glowing rectangles, the implications are going to be far and wide into the movement of the spread of the gospel.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Darren, thank you so much for our time. I want to just remind everybody watching and listening that we launched this on Sunday. And if you weren't here to hear Darren's message, I want to encourage you to do that. Okay, go to our westsidefamily.church and watch the message, and encourage other people to watch it. Lots of people that you know, part of Westside, not a part of Westside, and then also this podcast. You've learned a lot more. Share this with other people. Now, we're in the digital fast. Roseanne and I started it a week ago, and several other of our staff have as well. And it's, and Darren's give you a lot of really great advice. There is the workbook, which we've made available to you. I would encourage you to pick that up and work through it. Get a pen and a pencil. It's a device that's used for actually making marks on a paper. And then make sure you have the app. Darren, Roseanne and I, the first day we downloaded the app, we walked over to Jack's Deck. I was telling you about Kansas City barbecue. And we walked over and we sat outside and we were just getting some appetizers, and we're going to walk back. But we're now putting this thing down.
Love
and
that.
We're like, oh, we're winning right now. We're
so
winning.
You are
we're winning.
measuring time away from your phone.
And it's taking that sensation of it's taking
gamifying the experience.
It's gamifying the experience by staying off of it. It's exactly what, and it works, baby.
It works.
It works.
Yes.
And the whole time we sat there was a sense of a lull in our conversation, like, oh, no, because then it's going to break it. It's going to break it. It's going to break it. We're going to win. We're going to win. And now we're a little bit competition going on. We haven't compared notes. And so when you use the app, it's not only logging everyone in your family, but it's pushing it up to Westside, and then all the Westside's being pushed up to everybody who's doing it in the city. And we're doing this collectively as a church and as a city. And I just really want to encourage you to dive into it. So Darren, thank you so much for coming all the way from Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee, and being with us. It's so great to see you again.
I so appreciate you championing this, Randy. I believe in this so much, and I'm just thrilled to see so many in Kansas City get behind it.
Yeah, man, it's been absolutely a trip, man. It's been good. So share, and enjoy this digital fast. We have 3 more Sundays to go. We're going to walk through these 4 stages together and get you set up for a complete reset to take you to places God wants you to go that currently this little digital device is keeping you from. So we love you guys and encouraged to see you next Sunday. God bless, and we're out.